Hello and welcome everyone to my presentation about Yugioh's newest hand traps. Let's get in. We can't really talk about hand traps without the rise of what I would call engine hand traps. These archetypal hand traps that only really, or at least are supposed to work in their own archetypes, and do powerful turn zero plays. Things like Holy Sue and 5 mana fit this bill exactly because they have to have at the very least attributes, or in 5 mana's case, fusion material to use, while a card like K9 Izuna can be a little bit more standalone, but hasn't seen as much play as I think it was hyped up to have as a generic piece. These are all very, very strong options in a lot of these archetypes for turn zero plays. But all of these, except for Halvanus, which is on the limited list, have been released within the previous year. So it is definitely a trend from Konami to push engine as a part of your turn zero hand traps and interaction. Another way they've been doing that, though, is with Dominus cards. The Dominus series of hand traps has been a very mixed bag, from cards like Dominus Spiral that you could not convince me to put in a deck list, to even Songs of the Dominators, which has not been a great card, but in the situation where it is a card you put in your deck is probably the best card in your deck, to Dominus Impulse, which I personally believe is the best non-lingering hand trap in the entire game as of current, and then the new hand trap, Dominus Spark, that just sort of amplifies everything that the Dominus cards were already trying to do. And the Dominus cards obviously lock via attribute, which is interesting. I think giving locks to some of these hand traps does let Konami sort of fine-tune when building an archetype what they want it to have access to, but it also retroactively applies to every archetype that already existed. I mean, we see with the printing of Spark especially a lot of favoritism over towards Light and Dark. Light and Dark were already the most supported types in the game, and now they get to play 2 of the best hand traps in the game, depending on which version you're playing. Next up, we got to talk about this card. Fedral's Harmonia is truly absurd. What it enables you to do is just incredible as a hand trap. It is a card that will almost always 2 for 1. I think it is very difficult for this card not to 2 for 1. And if it's not 2 for 1ing, then it's because your opponent's doing something. So it's still kind of 2 for 1s. This card is incredibly difficult to interact with, especially because it doesn't target. You can't called by it. You can cross out it, but that's a 1. Good luck. You also can't play the card in your deck to cross out it unless you're also playing a synchro deck. It's the same issue that cross-outing Dominuses has, but way worse. This card is not the only reason that a synchro deck will go from insane to meta-dominant, but it's one of the major pieces behind that. Now, we also have to talk about how this affects existing hand traps, mainly Mulch Armies. Mulch Armies get significantly stronger when the other hand traps it is drawing you into get stronger. When your 2 Mulch Army draws are giving you, like, Veil or Ash Blossom, that's still incredibly strong. Those are 2 cards that you got off of 1 card that are able to potentially stop up to 2 of your opponent's cards. But when you're getting things like Synchro Emergency and Fedral's Harmonia, or even Dominus Impulse, or any of the Dominuses when they're able to destroy, it is just such an absurd amount of value. And a lot of the ways you try to play through something like that is by giving more Charmy draws. Now, thankfully, most of these new hand traps, if not all of them, are once per turn, but it doesn't matter if you're able to just put them all in your deck. And that sort of leads into my last point, where these cards are already some of the best hand traps in the game by themselves. When you start putting them together in the same deck, these cards get truly ridiculous. I mean, the example on the screen is a little bit exaggerated, obviously, mainly the Songs of the Dominator part, but we're pretty close to this already existing. I mean, there are decks that can play 4 out of 5 of these very comfortably, and will as soon as Spark drops. Spark is the card that sorta breaks the Dominus back, where a lot of the time the destroy parts of Purge and Impulse were very much bonuses that didn't happen too much. But now that you have 3 Imperm, 3 Spark, 3 Fua, 3 Ash, all of these things together, it just becomes so difficult to try to get any kind of full play through at least one, if not multiple of those, any given time you're going to go into a game. With that being said, thank you all so much for joining me for my presentation. If you agree or disagree, please let me know down below, and let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to turn into a presentation. Hope you all enjoyed.